Bonjour, everybody. Hi, this is Neshi. It's good Wednesday morning, June 6th. Yeah, June 6th. It's Wednesday morning. It's rainy and storming here this morning in Tomo, Wisconsin. We actually had a little bit of hail. It was a little bit of a surprise. We only had I don't know, 30% chance of a storm, and we had hail. And right now it's just kind of sprinkling out, but the sun is peeking out and it is gorgeous. I have to say, nature and spirit certainly know how to put on a show. As I'm looking out the deck windows at the trees, the leaves are wet, right? Because it's been raining actually pretty hard. And the sun is just starting to come out. And so the leaves, light breeze out there, are kind of shimmery and twinkly. It's really gorgeous. I like that. And I like thunderstorms. I do. It has to do with the thunder beings, and we call them Gamisho, hang on, Potawatomi, Gamisho Masay Nan, Gamisho Masay Nan in Potawatomi, and that means the grandfathers. And so we're talking about the thunder, right? We also that's also the name that is used for equivalent to grandfather sky. Wakantanka, that's the equivalent in Potawatomi is Gamisho Masay Nan. And yeah, so they came visiting this morning. It's kind of nice. Good morning, Jill. Oh, I know. Loving rain and storms. I do too. Almost everywhere we've lived, we've had a covered porch. Either it came with the house when we bought it, or we added it on it eventually, right? And love sitting out there and watching the storm come in, and then sitting out there and as long as you can anyway, is to listen to the rain and the thunder and the lightning. And yeah, there's nothing like, well, okay, I like staring up at the stars too at night. Jill is saying, but like your description of the in-between, sparkly leaves, and that the special quality of the air after a storm. Yeah, and that's exactly what we have right now. And as I was, I kind of got lost a little bit in watching the leaves in that light breeze and the shimmery, right? And I was thinking how gorgeous it is, and that the nature and the elementals and the devas here, right, were showing me something, and it was so pretty, so pretty. Yeah, all that green and all that shimmery light. Kind of reminds me of I don't know, Amantha Murphy. She's a good friend of mine from Ireland. She's they call her, let's see, a Siobhan, which is a wise woman or a yes woman, right? And that's the equivalent to in my culture would be like a holy woman, right? They're a shaman in the Sami language. Anyway, she's a good storyteller, and she talks about how the Tuatha Dana came to the Emerald Island, right? And how they came across the water in shimmering light. Yeah, that shimmery light. That's what I went to. Good morning, Elise. My brain-injured sister likes listening to you. So her name is Marie Ann. Well, good morning, Marie Ann. I'm so glad you're here with us today. Yeah, well, thunderstorms. Polly Joe's in the house. Good morning, Polly Joe. All right, ladies, coffee or tea? I've got coffee this morning. Mom wanted coffee this morning, and so I brewed an extra. And so I thought, I'm taking coffee this morning. A little caffeine. I'd like to alternate. Sometimes tea, sometimes coffee. Try to fit a smoothie in there to get my greens in the morning. Stuff like that. Try to be a little healthy anyway. Always tea, Jill is saying. Polly Joe is coffee. I like both. Both are good. I'm a equal opportunity caffeine drinker. It can be coffee, it can be tea, it could be herbal tea. That's all right too, depending on the time of day. Judy's got coffee. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm Polly Joe. I'm sorry, I forgot you're doing decaf stuff. Yeah. So maybe you should try. What is that? Is it chicory? Chicory coffee? I think that's what that is. It's not caffeine. It's made from. I feel like I have Sunday hair this morning. When I say it's Sunday hair, I mean usually Sundays I do very little with my hair. I usually hardly ever wear makeup on Sundays. Why Sundays? It's just kind of um, a more of a relaxed day, I guess. Yeah. Lisa's saying it's really Mary spelled weird, but she thought it was it was awesome. Well, that's good, Mary. I like that spelling of your name actually. It's unique, just like mine. Um, Beneshikwe is my native name, my spirit name. I got that when I was just a toddler, so I don't really remember. I don't remember the ceremony at all. I was so young. Um, and Neshi is a like a nickname off from that. In Potawatomi, it means bird woman, and so Neshi is bird. Okay, and my Misho, my grandfather, he called me Neshi all the time, and my birth name is Yvette, and so it's French. And I grew up having to spell my first name and last name all the time. And then I married somebody with the last name Locatz, and so so I still end up spelling my first name and last name all the time. So Mary, that's having a unique name. We have to kind of grow into it a little bit, but it's good. It's a good name. So today's card. Yeah, Judy, it is a blessed day. It certainly is. Look who showed up again today. Heyoka. I like saying that word, Heyoka. It's about humor and opposites. And take a look at that. That artwork. It's the sacred clown, the sacred trickster. And almost every tribal nation here on Turtle Island, Native American nations, we have something equivalent to what's called the Heyoka. I should say, I don't want to say surface, but it doesn't go quite as deep and as far as the Oshati Sakoi people, and that's the Great Sioux Nation, right? In Potawatomi and Ho-Chunk, we call them contraries. They're the people who they're the sacred clown, yeah, and they're here to tell us to lighten up. that everything doesn't have to be so serious, and when it is serious, then you take a little step back and be, another perspective of it. It's another way of saying, look for the gift within the mess, kind of thing, and to be able to laugh, even though you want to cry, right? That there's always something that you can make light of, and it doesn't mean that the situation or the event doesn't warrant respect or doesn't warrant your attention. It just means that you don't take it so seriously. That there's a reason for everything that happens, right? And so my phone. There's the Heyoka, or the contrary, is they help us to understand. They bring a lesson or a teaching, maybe from a direction that you wouldn't necessarily even expect. And a lot of times it's through their humor about themselves, okay, and they'll bring that in to the situation, so that the lesson, especially with children, the lesson will be almost comical, and then when you sit back and you think about it, it's like, oh, maybe I should look at that another way, kind of thing. And so it's not It's not a reprimand at all, but they sometimes they use themselves as the example, right? Yeah. Let's see what Jamie Sams. We had this card some time ago, early May, I think it was, and Jamie Sams, because we're using that's the cards we're using for those people who may be joining us that doesn't know what we're doing. We're using Jamie Sams cards, the Sacred Path cards, and what I've been doing for a long time is drawing a card in the morning just to ask my spiritual team what is most important energy for us to know for the day and for the highest good, and that I can share with others, right? And so started sharing this on live stream. Yep. Let's see. Elise is saying life is often very silly. Too many are too serious. That's true. And Judy is saying you have to make people smile and shake their heads because if you look at the silly things out of it, that's right. Um, and she's also saying is yeah, like to have fun, but people think you're crazy. Um, I think it depends on the person. Usually the person who is, and everybody knows somebody like this, is that they're extremely serious, very conscientious, and very conservative, and kind of buttoned up a little tight, if you know what I mean. And that now, technically, there's nothing wrong with that because um, we need them too, right? Um, but sometimes they get caught up in that tunnel vision and they don't see or sense another perspective. And so the sense of humor can bring that out. And let me tell you, I wish now if you've seen Dances with Wolves, that movie, it's kind of Kevin Costner, it's kind of old now, but I remember the first time I saw that movie and I thought to myself, they got the teasing, the sense of humor spot on from a native point of view in that movie. Hilarious. Paul and I went to go see it. We were living in Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin at the time, and it was a tiny little theater there. And we walk in, and I would say a good 95% of the audience is Ho-Chunk, right? And so there are parts in that movie that getting the native sense of humor. Sometimes it's kind of dry, a dry sense of humor. Um, we're hilarious, laughing, right? Joking around between us about it too. And the non-natives in there, they didn't. He's like, "What's so funny?" And they were laughing at different parts of the movie that we weren't laughing at. And so, sometimes it's even a cultural kind of sense of humor. But I think that they really got those parts in that movie right, as close as I've ever seen anyway. And years later, I find out that I've met some of the people who were advisors, Lakota advisors for that movie, and so kudos to them, for showing and teaching the film industry that made that film about real native life. At least a peek in, Yeah. Let's see. I'm they're having a good time in the chat. I'm going to try to catch up with them. Hang on. Let's see. All right. Lisa's saying life is often very silly. Too many or too serious, right? And Judy's saying is like they look at you like you're crazy, and Lisa's agreeing with her. And Judy's saying, I know, I love to be silly. And you know what? For those people who are very serious, the silly person, usually they take them out of context sometimes, or they don't quite understand them. And so, yes, at least saying annoying. Very serious people will find those of us who like a sense of humor and find things funny annoying sometimes. My husband has a keen sense of humor and a play on words and that kind of thing, right? And a lot of people don't get his sense of humor, but he's kept me laughing for 40 years. And and although he's also German, so there's also a part of him that doesn't get certain things because he's too serious. When he's in a serious mode, he don't get the funny. And but he's the one who's probably much more um, laid back in a lot of ways than I am. Um, I'm the one that's always on a go. I'm always doing something. He teases me about not being happy and unless I have like 10 irons in the fire, you know. And that was true. Years ago that was true. Not these days. But years ago that was true. And telling me that that's how I stay out of trouble. And Elise is saying, not you, Judy, who was responding to some people who are serious. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we got that, Elise. Elise says, I love to shop, trying hard and and laugh until I pee. Now, I have to tell you that there's something that my mom and I do almost every day. We try to find the sense of humor in the just the normal everyday stuff, the mundane things, right? There's times when my mom has me laughing so hard, you know, my stomach muscles hurt. I got tears running, um, and she's laughing hard too, you know. And we try to have that good hearty laugh at least once a day, and mean it. It's just not superficial, but it really is a good laugh. Um, let's see. All right, I think I caught up to them. So Jamie Sams. She says that the Heyoka is a contrary clown who holds total wisdom and teaches the people through laughter and opposites. The sacred trickster is one who makes you wonder if what they are saying or doing is actually correct, thereby making you think and figure it out for yourself. That's part of their medicine that they bring, is that the teaching, she says, is about if they stop and think, test out a teaching for themselves, and it stands in good stead, the wobbly belief becomes a knowing system for their lives. So what she's talking about here is sometimes we allow other people to form and to give us the boundaries and the laws, so to speak, the rules. Better word, the rules. And so we just kind of follow along, and we don't really question anything. Um, and the trickster, the sacred clown, helps us to look at that in a different way and start thinking for ourselves and start questioning and to be able to look at our lives from a different perspective. And sometimes that's that eye opener, right? It's like, holy, I didn't think of it that way. That's what they do for us, and it kind of in a strange way, they help us with discerning what's really going on, and in a way that is sometimes comical. And the thing is that the people who truly take being a contrary to heart and trying to help the best they can other people through their heart, they don't take the teasing and those kinds of things to a bullying kind of situation or even a mean-spirited situation. That's not their intent. And it is who had made a really good contrary or Heyoka person, where they bring the laughter, is Lucille Ball. Have you ever seen any of the old stuff with Lucille Ball? Yeah, what she did with her comedy was very much a Heyoka kind of medicine. She made a lot of people laugh, and a lot of times it was about herself, right? Things that she did that made her look comical. Yeah. Elise is saying husband boyfriend relationships like that sound wonderful. I was married once, and now I now I have a dog. Uh, yeah, well, Paul and I have been together since we were 18, and so we literally grew up together, and so we understand each other's sense of humor. Um, Paul Paul will get on a theme of something, and he will tease to no end, really, to no end. And when he sees the look on my face, he says, "Oh, I went past the end, huh?" Tease to no end. Or, and I'm being honest here, if I'm tired and I'm hungry at the same time, what do they call that? Hangry? Yeah, not a pretty sight. And at one time I looked at her and I said, "Look at this. Does this look like somebody who is going to be being laughing at your jokes right now? I'm telling you right now, for your own good, stop." And so that was early on in our marriage, and so it got to the point where I would give him the, "Now is not a good time. It's not a good time. We'll think about it later, but no teasing right now." you know, and so we've learned that. Through some of it was through trial and error, but we learned. Oh, Polly Joe says her and Carol Burnett. Right, right. Lucille Ball and Carol Burnett. Yes, exactly. Um, they make us laugh. Jill is saying that's what I was going to ask. Most often among Mohawk, I heard of the tricksters as I'm not sure what that means, as bad news. Someone bent on destruction or at least messing with you in a serious way. Okay. I think it depends. It depends on who's telling the story. If the person who's telling the story is someone who is always very serious, very conservative, um, a rule follower, not a rule breaker or bender, they would consider the trickster malevolent. Yeah, because they're using humor to to show you the opposite, to show you the opposite. And so I think it depends on who's telling the story. Now, I do know that even though they're Heyoka or the trickster or the contrary, they're also human. And so if they're coming from their ego out of balance, they can be mean. They can be destructive. And that's where our discerning comes into place, right? Um, so I think that we have to kind of take, okay. It's like when we read a book. When we read a book and we have to discern, this is one of the things they taught me in college, right? You have to look at the book to see who wrote it, when they wrote it, what was going on during in the world at the time they wrote it, the perspective that they're coming from. Discern the content of the book, and sometimes that whole book isn't for you. Maybe it's just a paragraph or two or a sentence, and so it's kind of like this. Dealing with a contrary is kind of like that. You have to kind of look at the whole situation. And if you know a contrary, a trickster, or a Heyoka, they have a history. They just didn't start this. They have a history. And so, no, if they're in your community, you kind of know them, right? You kind of know them. And I do know that the spiritual side, the medicine side of a trickster or a contrary, a Heyoka, goes well beyond the use of humor. The sacred clown goes well beyond that. In the ancestors in the old way, and there are some very few people, but there are some who are seriously trained in the Heyoka medicine. I can honestly say that there's probably very few people in modern time, during our time frame right now, that are traditionally trained. Um, yeah, the word sorcerer comes to mind as a descriptive, somewhat like a Merlin. Um, Yeah, where the energy that they, so the energy is energy, right? Medicine is medicine. It depends on how the person uses it, whether it is a negative or a positive. And so most people are trained to select the positive, knowing that the negative's there, making that choice whether you're going to do good medicine or bad medicine. Um, and there are some who choose the negative path. Um, So I'm not saying that they're not malevolent. Some are. There's but those that are really really truly trained in that kind of medicine way, um, it's usually carried down through the generations. Um, you just don't say one day, I think I'm gonna be a contrary. Those people are usually like that from the time they were little. They came in with that medicine. And so that medicine is nurtured by the elders. In the old days, those are the children that would probably lived with their grandparents or their great grandparents. English would have been their second language, not their first language. Yeah. So there is the more, do I want to call it serious? Yeah, there is the more serious side of the Heyoka medicine. It's not just comical and superficial, you know. It goes much much deeper in a very traditional manner. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Um, Jill says I could be wrong. Well, chances are they're like I said, you have to look at who's telling the story and how that went, what was going on during the time. So you need more information. I'm not saying you're wrong, Jill. I'm just saying that it's. Um, I'd like to think that they weren't, I guess, destructive. It depends on the full story. Judy saying anger is ugly, and when ugly is not good in the mood, I say ugly. Yes, that's true. You're talking about the hangry stuff. I know. Well, Paul knows after those so many years, is like he'll look at me, and goes, "You're hungry and you're tired. Okay, let's take care of that right now. Let's get you a little something to eat, and if you can, let's work in a nap." Yeah, that kind of stuff. Jill says, like no one ever wanted Coyote to cross your path. It could be. Yeah, well, Coyote gets a bad rap. He really does. There are aspects of Coyote as the trickster that it really teaches you to discern what's really going on. Wait a minute, and really looking at it. Um, and the Coyote medicine is pretty big medicine. It's a lot of people gravitate toward eagle and the that kind of medicine, right? Coyote is some serious big medicine. It really is, and they teach us a lot about discernment, and that not everything is as it seems, right? Not everything. All right. So Lisa's saying, "Are you saying I'm really human out here?" And unfortunately, there's an aspect, yes, because you are in a physical body. Hmm. You're in a physical body, so there's parts of you that are human. Um, yeah, look, Jill is saying, look at the context. Yes, look at the context because sometimes it is taken out of context, and we see that in other things too, right? We see that in other aspects of our life. And so the coyote and the contrary, the trickster, the sacred clown, the Heyoka, they teach us to look at it in more than one direction. Mm-hmm. Judy is saying, how do you change the negative to a positive outlook on life? Ooh, that to me, for me, my 2 cents on that is that it's a decision to make. Even in the worst case scenarios, is to be able to look at it and say, okay, there's got to be a gift under all of this. There's okay, where is it? That's what I'm looking for. What's the gift? And truly, on a daily basis, it really is a decision. Now, I think that it's even a decision for those who carry the label, the diagnosis of depression, clinically depressed. I know that there's chemical issues going on. There is a reason for that diagnosis. But even with that, there is the decision to make on how am I going to look at this? How am I going to perceive this? Do I want to look for the positive first? Look for the positive first. When I was teaching feng shui, some of you don't know that, but yeah, I'm a feng shui practitioner and teacher. I used to certify people in feng shui. When I would take students out to do assessments, we'd practice, right? And we'd do we used to go drive-by assessments. We'd go to a neighborhood and we would take a look at front doors and front walks and driveways and that kind of thing. And what I noticed most often is people would go to the negative first. They'd pick out all of the things that needed to have some sort of remedy or resolution to it, which isn't a bad thing. But what I taught my students was to look at the positive things first. This is someone's home, and they're going to be asking you to come into their home to assist them. They're inviting you into the inner sanctums of their life. And so to start out with a negative might not be that helpful. Let's look at the positive first, and then talk to them. Get the real story, and then we'll start looking at solutions and remedies, and the balancing out of energies. Right. So really, it some of it is training. Some of it is self-discipline. Is to look at the positive first. I'm not saying the negative isn't there. It's just to identify the positive first. Yeah. Polly Joe, it's all about intent. There are those who heal through laughter and showing us ways to laugh at ourselves. Those who are closed to the feeling won't feel the healing that is trying to take place. That is so true. That is very, very true. Jill is saying she agrees. I love coyote medicine. Elise, I have a pack of coyotes out back. They scream at night. Yeah, we have coyotes here too. And we don't see them very often, but we do hear them. That's for sure. And Elise is also saying, it's so difficult, Judy. I came from a life of abuse and neglect. I guess I used humor and try hard not to think about the past as spirit to help you let go. Yeah, really. Working with your spiritual team. That's why they're here with us. Here's my imagination about that. Is that we have a whole team of beings in spirit to help us. Everything from angels to power animals to nature spirits to life forms from other planets. That we have a whole team here with us. And most times we don't even know all of them, right? And when we don't ask them for help, when we don't have a conversation with them about something, even though might not even be a problem, but you're looking at something and going, huh, that's interesting. I wonder what that's about. And you turn to them, tell me the story about this one. What's going on? Um, is there something I'm supposed to be aware of in this situation? Because it might not even seemingly affect you or about you, but you're witnessing it. And so what is that you're supposed to see with it? So when we don't tap them and say, hey, I need some help here. In my imagination, they're just kind of hanging out, maybe playing cards or, you know, waiting for the high sign saying, hey, she needs something or she's asking for something. It's about time. Let's see if we can give her a couple more synchronicities and see, pull this thing together, have another conversation with her. But for me, that is when I go into the silence meditation, when I'm sitting quietly, I'm having a conversation with them and they're telling me something, so I'm listening. So it really is a good thing to get into the habit of having a conversation with them and asking them for help. Yeah. Yeah. Judy's saying, tell them tell them I need help to understand, to see it with clarity. Because sometimes the clarity isn't what we really want. It's what we need, but maybe not what we want. And so we keep ignoring it. Don't want to see it. Don't want to hear it. Yeah. So, but that's part of the work that we're doing here, right? I wanted to, since we've been over Heyoka before, I just was going to pick out. She said, Jamie Sams writes, the Heyoka is known for creating lessons at the expense of another's seriousness. The Heyoka is able to master the art of balancing the sacred with the irreverent. The sacred medicine path of the Heyoka can involve diminishing fear through laughter. Harry Potter. I don't remember which movie it was, but they're dealing with what were they called? The ones in it was in a wardrobe closet, and they were supposed to use laughter, ridiculous, right? And use their wands and start to laugh, and it changes to something that more less scary that they had in their mind. But that's basically the same thing. Is that if you can face the fear with laughter, it changes. It transforms to something else, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Judy is saying, awesome that you have guides. I need help and the help to guide me. Yeah. Well, everybody has guides. I'm not the only one. Everybody does. It depends on if you choose to get to know them and ask them for help and that kind of stuff. Everybody has them. Elise is saying, no matter what, staying on track or not, love the discussions on the Schnott Show. I know. It's so easy to get off track, isn't it? Yeah. The non-show. I'm still working on that, wrapping my mind around it. I kind of like the non-show. It's kind of Heyoka. Judy, thank you. Ongoing, non-trying. That's right. Keep trying. Coyote teaches two-leggeds to find joy in their own foolishness. So when you can laugh at yourself when something happens, right? It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that, and start laughing about it rather than getting angry. Because let's talk about that just a little bit, about the emotion. That when you're angry, that's not the root of the situation. So if you say, oh, that made me angry, why did that make me angry? And go a little bit deeper with it. That made me angry. Why am I angry about that? Because usually the emotion of the root emotion to the anger is fear. And so if you ask yourself, what am I really afraid of here? And identify it, it takes away it gives you more power. The fear is less powerful, right? If you can identify it. Because usually it's kind of hidden. And when you can identify it, it kind of deflates it a bit, sometimes all the way. When you're having fun and enjoy and laughter, what's underneath that? What's the root of that? Right? And so it's really about getting to know yourself and going to the root. Usually we only do that when we have an issue, a healing issue, dealing with past traumas, and going to the root and clearing it and healing it at the root, right? For change, for transformation, for growth. But we can do the same thing with the positive emotions as well. Is if you're feeling joyful, what's underneath that? Is it happiness? Is it contentment? Is it love? What's at the root? Because it helps us to learn about ourselves that way. And I know that a lot of people don't do that with the good feelings. They just say they feel good, which is all right. I'm not saying it's wrong, but you can learn so much more if you just take a few minutes and say, yeah, but why? What's underneath it? What's at the root of this? And when you find the happiness and the contentment under there, whatever that is, the love under there, it takes it in such a much more deeper meaning, I think. Again, my 2 cents again. Stay tuned for the next mystery. This non-show, exactly. the Neshi non-show. Never know, but always good. That's true. Well, we do know. We get started with stuff like this, and then we go. And I always take a look at, okay, so how do we use this today in the modern day? How do we use this kind of information right now? And the Heyoka uses the opposite. That's what they use, the tool they use to teach us is the opposite, being the contrary. As a kid, I can remember going to powwows and seeing somebody dressed with their clothes inside out and backwards. It's like, what is that? Why are they doing that? And and just being whispered to, they're a contrary. Oh, what does that mean? Because you're a kid, you want to know, right? Or the contrary is dancing counterclockwise, and that really does trigger a lot of people because they're doing it wrong, right? And when you find out that the contrary, when they dance counterclockwise, they're praying for the people. They're dancing in prayer for the people in their way, in the contrary way. Yeah. And Polly Joe, anger goes back to a time in the past. Triggering old fear takes away the energy charge and weakens the energy. The laughter triggers your inner child and unconditional love. That's right. I love that. Thank you, Polly Joe, for adding that. Because I think that it when we share like this, we get to see something that we may try to ignore or try not to think about, right? But we can see it from a different perspective, another way. And I think that's good. I think that's really, really good. If somebody can walk away with just a little bit of a nugget or a planted seed and think, you know what? I think I'm going to take a look at this. I want to heal this. I want to put this in the past as my life lesson and take the wisdom that I learned from it and move forward, right? That's growth. The primary lessons of the Heyoka trick us into revelations rather than giving us all the answers. The view will always expand if we use the divine medicine of laughter. When we ask for those lessons, we need to be prepared for an adventure. We will have achieved, can't read this morning, achieved the ultimate union of opposites when we learn to celebrate more than we mourn. The time has come to laugh and reclaim our divine rights to find pleasure in the sacredness of being human. I always like that last sentence with the Heyoka. The time has come to laugh and reclaim our divine right to find pleasure in the sacredness of being human. So if we get this card, she says that you are in for a barrel of laughs. You may be doing exactly the opposite of what you need to be doing and are about to get busted for it. Now, remember, she's writing in the 1990s. So getting busted, that's from the 90s. She says, learning through laughter or opposites can be fun. The keynote to the Heyoka card is to lighten up and start balancing the sacredness with irreverence. If you are just being stubborn, it may be time to create a contrary lesson that will force you to crack up, crack a smile, or trick you into going into the crack in the universe to find out what's really important. The crack in the universe. This is the Heyoka card. Yeah. For me, that would be, it's not all about work, because I do that a lot. With Star Nations, it keeps me quite busy, and to remember to take the break and to have some fun. Sometimes I'll put music on. Sometimes it's classic rock out of the 70s, to rock out while I'm in the kitchen. Sometimes it's powwow music, still rocking out in the kitchen. A lot of times it's just watching a movie with Paul, is to take a break and to have a little fun and to enjoy your life and not take it so seriously. Yeah. There you are. Elise says, love you, girl. Thank you so much, Elise. I love you too. One of these days we're gonna meet in person, right? One of these days. So with that, like I always say, is take the information, what we shared today, and see how the energy moves through your day, what you're witnessing, what you're experiencing, how you can utilize a part of the information that we covered today. And with that, you discern for yourself what part of it was meant for you, what resonated with you, and what didn't. And what didn't, it's okay. Let it go. That's meant for somebody else. And just take what resonates with you and see how the energy plays out for the day. That's what I'm going to do. So with that, I am going to work on the Star Nations magazine, the June issue. Talk about fun. This is the day that I get to be the optimator. I get to optimize the it's called the PDF version of the magazine. And that's all the cool links to all the videos and that kind of thing. So I get to go in and do the hot links and do another round of editing. And it's fun for me. I like doing that. So that is what my fun is this afternoon. And for you, I hope you have a good rest of the day. Bama Mina, until we see each other again, which is tomorrow morning if you join me, right back here at 10 o'clock Central, 11 Eastern. I'll see you later. Bama Mina.